Yesterday we watched the big Summer Warhammer preview on stream together, and while it was one of the better preview shows, there was a lot that they showed us and the presentation was awesome. And naturally, not everything could be as exciting as that one giant reveal. We are finally getting the one true, the OG as the kids say these days, kill team. We finally are getting Deathwatch kill teams, and Emperor preserve me, I'm here for it. Praise the Omnisia and pass the Kraken rounds. But let's take it step by step and go through all the future releases they presented, and I'll give you my take on it. I gotta admit, I was a little hyped before this started because in a preview for this event they showed a Jester's head. So could that potentially mean new Harlequins? I prayed to the God Emperor, but was I heard? Stay tuned. They started the show with some new Wulcan releases, Short Kings, big reveals, and I gotta say I liked about 5 or 4.5 out of the 6 releases. And let's address the elephant in the room. The Arcanist Evaluator straight up is Dr. Albert Wiley from Mega Man, or more accurately, his discount little cousin, Dr. Wild E. I'm not vibing with that head sculpt at all. I do, however, like the weapon and the overall mad scientist theme they were going for. And next they showed the Memnir Strategist, and I really like this one. It's the first Iron King character that we see. Iron King obviously being the Votan's artificial intelligence. And all these cables connecting the additional CU units. It's like a gang of AI sticking their heads out and saying what up. I'm not a fan of the chunky embroidery we see a lot lately. I get that it's easier to paint with more basic techniques. It's just not my thing. I usually sand it down and slap basic freehands on this, but the model has a really great vibe. It's a robot that's wearing a trench coat, a very noir. Oh, and that small tablet and the Apple Pencil that the extra hands are holding down there, that's a neat little detail. Again, very characterful model. We're getting a few more Ironkin with these steel jacks, and it's funny. It's almost like these vertically challenged folk thought about how to create better fighters, and what the AI did was give them robots with longer legs. And yeah, they're okay, nothing special, but they get a lot of different weapon options, looking very useful in game on first sight, with both a ton of melee and the ranged options. Basically the Swiss Army knife of the kid. The Chthonian Earthshakers are a funny concept. These guys fire shells into the earth, and when they come back up at the target location, they blow everything to pieces. Real Bugs Bunny energy here. A very fun concept, and I can see how this could be the center of a diorama, maybe changing this from a weapon into a drill or other equipment. That would be very in line with the Votan. And next up, they showed the Capricus, and this is a vehicle that can either be used as a transport or a weapons platform with all the weapons. And the Votan vessels always remind me a bit of the hovercrafts from the Matrix. Very distinct style, and I definitely like it, though I probably don't want to paint one myself. But their technology just looks so different from everything else we have in Warhammer 40k. This adds a bit of much needed mobility for troops to any Votan army. Will be interesting to see what players can cook up with it. They also showed off the new combat patrol and then moved right into my favorite of the bunch, Bernie Agneson, the thrice devoured. So apparently he found himself eaten by a Tyranid 3 times and just clawed himself back out like a xenomorph chestbuster every time. This guy is the materials that Tyranids make horror movies about. You can see that he's missing limbs and body parts that got replaced with technology, and he's carrying a Darkstar glaive called Bane, and well, a tiny accessory on his back. He's definitely a walking understatement. This guy is the literal nightmare Tyranid synapse creatures tell their rippers about, and he's more metal than your cousin's playlist. Now, a not quite golden demon material maybe, but definitely an interesting mini to paint with everything that's going on. He's a lone operative, so he can sneak up on things and cause some havoc in-game, and that ties in neatly with his hunter lore. Then they showed of new Tomb Kings of Camry, starting with these Royal Heralds, and they're pretty cool. They definitely have a new models feeling to them while retaining the style of the original Camry. I really like that shield and the spiky extensions it has, and that banner is just bananas. Like, no one should be able to lift that or even hold upright. It's so big, it should have its own postal code. The standard bearer also has a lot going on, holding the banner, one arm pointing forward, one foot on a tactical obelisk, classic Warhammer. And maybe it's the angle, but that pose looks weird. But then again, as it's rotating, it looks a lot better. We also got to see 2 new Lich Priests, and I like them. The staves have some very awesome designs. Both of them are sculpted in a commanding pose, which is quite fitting since it is their magic that holds these armies together. And that magic is shown through the hovering scroll here. And I also like the skills the mounted one is presenting. Both the horse models look really flimsy, I gotta say. I know that it's hard to design skeleton horses, but like that's a lot of stuff that's held up by really tiny plastic legs. Props to the little viper skeleton on the side just for holding that whole thing up, like it's a Hecaran scaffolding crew. Both Camry and Grand Cathay are getting arcane journals, which are books that provide some lore beard, additional rules, and additional background material for specific armies. Moving into Age of Sigmar, Flesh Eaters are getting a new battle tome and a new spearhead, so you can play that format with them. But they also get one completely new model, the High Falcon of Felgrim. And this guy is a little bananas. All the Flesh Eater cords are under some kind of illusion. He's not as iconic as Cardinal Intestine Robes or Judge Wiggleflesh, but he still brings that twisted Flesh Eater's fairy tale madness to the table. High Falcon of Felgrim here is under the illusion that he's commanding some noble avian creatures, while in reality, he's just hanging around a swarm of rabid bats, probably spreading diseases and chewing on some rotting bones and intestines. I own a lot of these Flesh Eater models simply because they are so wacky, and this one fits with that bunch of merry undead perfectly. It comes with this second model that's a pretty large bat and looks a little like some kind of stereotype bad guy companion from a Disney movie. I like it. The Falconer is a cool model. However, I think he's not as unique as the Cardinal or the Judge, so I'll probably skip it. But I just love this faction. There's just so much room for silliness, albeit packed in quite a bit of horror. Night Haunts also get a new battle tome and a spearhead box and one new model called Lord Vitriolog. He's literally dripping with cool liquids. It's a pretty awesome sculpt with the extra set of arms mixing some kind of poison, like he's in a ghostly remake of Breaking Bad. The rack of ingredients on his back is a nice touch. Other set of hands throwing vials and containers full of foul and nasty ingredients at enemies. This is something I really like about the Night Haunts. The models are just so characterful. Each of them probably worthy to be painted up for Golden Demon, like Alroth the Drowner, Lady Olinda, or my favorite, the Scriptor Mortis. And this one fits right in that line. You can do some great special effects with the cloud forming from the liquid that he's pouring out in front of him. And you can do some fun stuff with the vials and flasks on the rack. I like it a lot. One of, if not the biggest announcements, is the return of Chaos Dwarves. Of course, they need a copyrightable name though, so they go by Hellsmiths of Hashmut, but let's face it, they're Chaos Dwarves. Seeing them pop up after decades of Games Workshop gaslighting was like watching the end of a long grudge match between the community and the IP lawyers. And I like that they included these 2 comments from the earlier YouTube announcement, although the one that read, "From this preview, I'm gauging that we are getting pirates, cowboys, chesters, and Abraham Lincoln was the best. But Games Workshop will never release Chaos Dwarves, and they wouldn't even be called that anyway, just take the cake. This is total bull," and then the switch to the Brazen Bull type construct was not bad either. And very cool and new designs. Designing dwarves is not that easy, I reckon, because you don't have a lot of space to work with. And I guess the archetype dictates a lot of heavy armor, heavy plate armor, thick chainmail, and this is kind of exactly what we are getting with these Infernal Cohort troops. I like the musician a lot. He's basically 2 models, a Hobgrot that carries a gong, and then the classic bare-chested hooded gong banger, I guess. They come in spear and sword versions, and the green spheres in all of these weapons apparently contain ground down demonic essence, and which makes the weapons more powerful. I imagine them going, "Hey, hand me another one of these demon batteries, will you? My spear has run out of juice." But you can probably paint these in all kind of different glowy colors. I guess we really are in the age of OSL. The leader of the pack is this War Despot, a pretty straightforward chunky dwarf guy, blinged out to the max and wearing a giant hat. And next, they showed us the Dominator engine. Big giant bull burning with demonic essence from within. Lots of metals, plenty of head and weapon options. Like, look at this guy basically having 2 cannons as arms. If that isn't a metal album cover right there, then I don't know. Obviously, Chaos Dwarves were always known for their devastating artillery. I remember always being too intimidated to paint my Hell Cannon, and the tradition continues here with this Tormentor Bombard and the Hellshrieker rocket launcher, both of them powered again by Demonic Flame. Centaurs always were an archetype present in Warhammer, and of course they're making a comeback here, since after all it was Hashmut that turned dwarves into centaurs when they were first touched by his blessings. So here we have the bull centaurs, chunky cavalry boys with heavy armor. You can also build them as anointed sentinels, which come with less armor. And I guess they will probably be able to move further in-game because of that. Someone on my live stream mentioned how it looks like we're going a bit backwards on anatomy and muscles, and comparison to a certain Katoshan kit were made. And on first sight, these upper bodies really don't look that great, rather blocky, and the muscles of the arms look out of proportion, like too much biceps and not enough lower arms. But I'll have to see the models in reality first before I judge. There's a unit that specializes in ranged weapons, Infernal Razors they're called, and you can also build them with different weapon options, chunky handheld demon cannons, or flamethrowers, I guess. And some people mentioned it, and when I saw these, I finally also saw the World of Warcraft vibes, but I guess it's all these chunky and blocky elements. Oh, and here we can again see the weird shape of the muscles, like that one up here. If you showed me that on a close-up, I could not identify that as an arm. But again, small chunky men, not a lot of space to work with. I did like the Hobgrots a lot that come with this army. They're nasty little buggers, and they also get some of these chunky armor elements that run through the range. And it's kind of interesting how that looks on their more slender bodies. Also, I like a lot of the poses, very dynamic, and some of these details are also funny, like the musician with the peg leg. And then, of course, we have to have some demon smiths. Given the gift of magic by Hashut, since dwarf can't wield magic naturally, but at the price of the curse of stone, that slowly turns each of these sorcerers into stone statues. But yeah, this one still has the large shoulder pads, but is mostly dressed in these priestly robes. You can also build an Ashen Elder from this kit, powered by Xbox. And here you can see how they slowly turn to stone. I really like this face though. It's one of the few that is not covered in a giant helmet, and it's very characterful. They also showed us Urakar, the first demon smith, and you can see how the Curse of Stone has claimed large portions of his body already. And I'm almost never a fan of these giant spell manifestations they do. This one reminds me of the Kadan shard of the Void Dragon with the sculpted lightning sticking out, but just how impressive is that bull? The theme running through this army is blocky features and lots of plain surfaces and straight lines and edges, and I'm curious what painters will do with these, as it's kinda unusual. They look like nothing I have seen before in Warhammer. These wings and the bull body also speak that same design language. Really interesting. I also like the burnt trees on the base. Very impressive. You could probably make that the base theme for all of the army, given how they ravage the land with their demonic industrialization. Lots of flat surfaces on that bull. That could be a hard nut to crack, or offer lots of possibilities. I'm not sure yet. They also showed the generic Demonsmith option you can build from the kit, and the 2 different color schemes give us a hint of what's possible already. Like you could either do the bull in a metal theme, or like this green version here, give the impression of rock, which makes him look even heavier. The model also has these lines running across. I guess you can add a glow from within effect, as it's powered by demonic energy. I guess they tried to do that on the orange version, but it's hard to tell with these angles. Next, they announced some tanks for Legions Imperialis, and I gotta admit, I'm super indifferent towards the system. I get that the scale allows for larger battles at a fraction of the cost, and I own a few of the Titans for the simple reason that I always wanted to paint the Titan, and the small scale versions are just cheaper and more manageable when painting. But it's just not for me. The Horse Heresy is getting a kit for Mark II assault squads with jump packs so big they probably violate Imperial air traffic law. These guys are one surface skull away from becoming Gundams. And they come with new melee weapons, biggest of them all, the chain axes. I'm not a fan of these very early Space Marine armor patterns, but I appreciate that they are available and something different to work with, like these Cyclops helmets and bigger gorgets and bulkier chest plates, all fitting to their combat role as frontline brawlers, of course. I will definitely paint one or two of them, even though they are not my favorite designs, but they are definitely not objectively bad, just not my taste. And it's cool to have models for almost all of the Space Marine armor marks by now. It really makes me want to paint the model from all the ones we have available in one particular legion or later chapter scheme, of course, and just place them next to each other on a base. I also thought about converting some of these Mark II armors into Thunder Warriors. It seems like they're more archaic and the bulkier patterns will be kind of suited for that. They also get a combat shield option, and while I don't necessarily like the design, this kit looks like it's going to offer some interesting loadout options for Horus Heresy players, and maybe a lot of bits for some other Space Marine conversions. Although I'm not sure, can you actually do that anymore legally in Horus Heresy? But I guess I might at least be able to snag some of these more brutal looking weapons for certain 40k chapters. And I'll definitely find a place for these humongous jet engines. Something else that is coming out is the new journal Tactica, the Fortress of Saturn. And in it we are going to get more backstory and information about Saturnine technology, as well as new scenarios to play, and additional profiles for Saturnine common squads and Centurions. And what I don't understand is, to get started with Horus Heresy, you need the core book and the Liber Astartes, and now you also need the Journal Tactica for all the Saturnine stuff. Should that not be in the new book that's coming with the box, since it has Saturnine minis in there? This sounds a little bit excessive, but correct me if I'm wrong, please. But yeah, here is the Saturnine variants. First of all, these close combat versions. They look absolutely bonkers with these giant hammers and axes. They give me anime character vibes, and not in a good way. And I'm not gonna lie, that banner on the back is just too much. Like, not only is that going to snap off immediately, because it's gonna be impossible to transport this model with the hammer sticking out one way and the banner sticking out another. And it might be just me, but I have a hard time imagining where these guys are waiting to teleport into battle. Like, they must be standing by in a hangar of sorts. If you showed me this and said this is a Joy Toy model, I would have believed you. It's so over the top. We also get Centurions, and I guess this means you can now field Saturnine only armies. I think that's how it goes when you have both Praetors and Centurions, right? The Scouring, a new multi-book, multi-auto series is coming, with the Ashes of the Imperium being part one of a series that will probably span years. And some people already joked that it's going to be another series stretched out way too much for its own good, just to make more money. But I can't really comment on that. I haven't read most of the Horus Heresy books up until now. So I have to ask you, do you agree with that assessment? Please let me know down in the comments. And then the previews returned to 40k, and they showed us a bunch of long-awaited new models and remakes of beloved Space Marine heroes. First up is Wulcan Hestan, Forge Father of the Salamanders. This is the one tasked with finding all 9 relics the real Wulcan left behind. And when they are found and brought together, it is said that the Salamander Primarch will return. And since they plan new releases like 3 years ahead, I have a hunch the new model for Wulcan is already sculpted and on someone's hard disk at the office in Nottingham. Or maybe they already 3D printed and painted a prototype and it's waiting in a cabinet somewhere. If Wulcan Hestan is getting a new model, one can dream, right? As for the model itself, I'm not super fond of it. He has the same shin guards as Adrax Agathon, and the rest of the armor looks very similar too. I guess maybe this one looks way too overloaded and detailed, like the glowing hot spear of Wulcan. It's glowing, alright, But then there is another dragon head sculpted on top, and then there's scales everywhere. Of course, he's wearing Wulcan's dragon hide, and it's a little too big. So there's layers and layers of wrapped hide, and there's also spaces on his helmet. Why is there spaces on his helmet? The sigil on his back is burning, the spear is burning, the ground is burning. One could think this model has been commissioned by El Miniaturista. Next up, we have Darnath Lysander, captain of the Imperial Fist First Company. Huge Terminator armor. I don't know what's going on with that right leg. The pose is really odd. But hey, that's at least a giant hammer, I guess. A giant shield, lots of details, big tactical rock. I think I prefer the helmeted option. This guy is a fister if I ever saw one. Fist on the shield, fist on the back, fist on the iron halo, fist on the shin. Hell, even the hammer is shaped like a fist. Some might like it, but it's not really my favorite of the bunch. The next hero is Canuck Var of the Iron Hands, and in true Iron Hands fashion, he's augmented like there's no tomorrow. Robocop has more human tissue left than this guy. And with that head design, he kind of reminds me a bit of Cyborg from the Snyderverse. A cable sticking out everywhere. This guy does not run on a 5G connection, he runs on 10G. He's wielding a power Tetsubo. And yes, I had to look that up. Never heard of that before, but interesting weapon choice. Ethan Shan, Chapter Master of the Raven Guard, is the 4th out of 5 heroes. Probably blasting My Chemical Romance on these internal speakers all day. And while this model also looks incredibly overloaded, I feel like since the Raven Guard just has this avian theme, it looks different enough from the other Marines we just saw. And because of that, it becomes kind of interesting again. Personally, I'm not a fan of the helmet and the emo hair options. I think if I get one, I will build mine with the hooded head. I kind of like the shape of the claws. The white casing looking very high sci-fi, and then you have a raven skull in the middle of it, heralding back to the grimdark nature of 40k after all. And it looks like someone tried to do some non-metallic metal on the claws, but looking closer, I think it's just a lightning pattern on metallics, and the blue gives the wrong impression. Still looks cool in a way. This is gonna be a great centerpiece for any Raven Guard army. And last but not least, Suburban Khan of the White Scar swoops in on his anti-gravity jet bike. I'm looking forward to get my hands on this one and put the base right under his weapon, making the model balance on the power glaive. That positioning is just asking for it. I really like that tilted pose and everything, starting from the right down to the head trophies. Everything is just screaming White Scars, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. And on the bright side, apparently all of these characters will have their rules available for free to download on release. I don't see that every day. I expected at least another book. All of the chapters that these guys belong to will also get new combat patrols. And of course, the model I want the most will first be available through a combat patrol. My FOMO is tingling, but I'll resist and wait until he's available on its own. A Joy Toy is coming out with a wearable Lieutenant Titus helmet. It's on pre-order for $159, including a stand. FOMO tingling again a little, but I guess I'll resist. And then the highlight of this show for me, we got the announcement we probably should have gotten when the game Kill Team first came out. We got the original Kill Team along with some pretty cool looking Necrons. We finally get a Deathwatch kill team. I like that they give us different armor types, like there's normal intercessors, storm shields, Phobos armor, Gravis armor, and then there is just loads of weapon options. I was always critical of the fact that opposite to other skirmish games, you are fielding just basically a handful of clones with slightly different weapon loadouts. But here you get the true feeling of a specialist team, in my opinion. My favorites are the heavy weapons guys, like the one with the frag cannon. I also dig that in true Deathwatch fashion, one of them is carrying a Xeno faceblade. There's also a heavy bolter with a built-in flamer, and that's not a weapon, that's a declaration of Xeno's cleansing intent. And apparently they are going to give us lots of different chapters, also rather obscure ones for the shoulder guards, and that's pretty neat. Although personally, I will most likely just use plain ones and apply decals. The specialization goes as deep as each round they're able to pick different ammunition for the job at hand. And them being Space Marines, I think these will instantly become one of the best and strongest kill teams right away. We also get a Homer Simpson Marine. That's kind of neat. The box comes with Necron Crypt themed terrain. It looks a bit like a Borg cube, but I'll take it. And Opposing the Deathwatch are filthy Necron Xenos. The Canoptech Circle is also a pretty diverse team. There's a big centerpiece with a Geomancer that has a centipede type body. I like the pose, the way he's wrapping around the Necron technology in the middle. Pretty cool. And then we have what looks like 2 Reanimators, 2 Tomb Crawlers, and 3 Warriors. I had to look that last one up, and it's confusing since the Necron Warriors looked a little different the last time I checked. Just like the last Tyranid-themed Kill Team box, this one comes with rules for what is called a joint operation, and basically a lot of Necron Warriors, which act as NPCs that you can use in co-op games. So now you and your imaginary friend can team up to fight the Silent King's robot cousins. Amazing. So that's it. We got loads of new stuff. I'm excited for quite a lot of it. And if I'm not personally getting it, like the Age of Sigmar releases, for example, I'm quite excited for what others will do with these models. Let me know what you are excited for. Are you hyped for Chaos Dwarves, Kill Team, or trying to figure out how to store another Saturnine model with a 5-foot banner? Which was your favorite? What did you like the least? Put it down in the comments, and thanks for watching.